All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about something huge today, the fourth industrial revolution. Now, you hear that term thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Well, for developing nations, and especially for the continent of Africa, this isn't just some tech upgrade. It's a make or break moment. It could be the thing that closes the development gap for good, or makes it a whole lot wider. So yeah, let's get into it.
And listen, the stakes here are, well, they're incredibly high. This quote from the African Development Bank really just lays it all bare. The pace of change is astonishing. You can't just sit back and hope for the best. Attempting to maintain the status quo, they're saying that's not even an option. So the real question isn't if this revolution is coming, it's how do you get ready for it?
Okay, so let's start with the dream, right? The really exciting promise of this whole fourth industrial revolution. And for the developing world, it boils down to this incredible idea, a great tech leap. A chance to, bypass all the slow, grinding steps of industrialization that other countries had to go through.
But hang on, what are we even talking about here? The fourth industrial revolution. It sounds a bit like science fiction, doesn't it? But it's actually pretty straightforward. It's not just about a few new gadgets. Think of it more as a fusion. It's where the physical world, the digital world, and even the biological world start to merge, and the lines get really, really blurry.
And the engines powering this whole thing are technologies you've definitely heard of. We're talking about artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, where your fridge talks to your phone, advanced robotics, and some mind-blowing stuff in biotechnology. But here's the key. They're not working in isolation. Their real magic, their real power comes from how they connect and work together.
And all that brings us to this one big, powerful idea, leapfrogging. This is the theory, the hope that developing countries don't have to follow the same old playbook. They might not need to build out every single piece of 20th century infrastructure. It's like how many places went straight from having no phones to everyone having a cell phone, completely skipping the whole landline phase. That's leapfrogging.
I mean, it sounds amazing, right? Just leap ahead. But can you really do that? Can a nation just jump over decades of slow, steady development and land right in the middle of a high-tech future? That's the billion-dollar question we're really digging into here.
Okay, so that brings us to the reality check. Because for all this exciting talk about leaping, there's a pretty strong argument that real, lasting progress, it needs a solid foundation to stand on.
There's this old Latin phrase, natura non facit saltus, and all it means is nature does not make leaps. It's an idea from biology, but economists have kind of borrowed it. The point is, economies, just like ecosystems, they don't just magically jump from one level to the next. They evolve. They build on what was there before.
So what does that mean for technology? Well, the crucial idea here is that to even use all these cool 4IR technologies, a country first needs what experts call foundational capabilities. Think of it as the bedrock, right? You need the basic industrial skills, you need the organizational know-how, and you need the human capital, things like education and digital literacy. Without that foundation, all the advanced tech in the world won't do you much good.
Okay, whoa, this chart looks super complicated, I know. But stick with me because the main idea behind it is actually really simple. What it's showing is that digital industrialization isn't one giant leap. It's a process, a journey. You start on the left with those foundational skills we just talked about, move through developing specific technologies, and then, and only then, you can start creating real value on the right.
In fact, we can boil that whole complicated-looking chart down to 3 basic steps. Step 1. You have to build those foundational capabilities. We got to keep coming back to that. Then, once that's in place, you can move on to step 2, developing specific tech clusters like AI or robotics. And finally, step 3 is where the magic happens. You use that tech to solve actual problems in areas like farming or healthcare.
And this chart, this gives us a really clear, data-driven look at what one of those foundational challenges actually looks like in the real world. This is the digital skills gap. So look at a basic task like finding and installing software. In a place like Morocco, almost 30% of adults can handle that. But then look at Sudan. It's less than 5%. Now, this isn't about pointing fingers. It's just a stark reminder of where that foundational groundwork really needs to be laid before you can even think about leapfrogging.
So if this idea of one giant leap is maybe a bit of a fantasy, what's the alternative? What's the smart play? Well, that brings us to a more targeted, more realistic path forward, one that's all about solving actual problems on the ground.
And the key word here is technology fusion. This is a really cool idea.
Instead of trying to do everything at once, the smart move is to strategically combine different 4IR tools, say AI plus drones, to tackle very specific local issues. It's not about having cool tech just for the sake of it. It's about using it to make a real impact. Let me show you what I mean.
All right, case study number 1, drones. Drones are one of the best examples of this technology fusion happening in Africa right now, especially when you pair them with data analytics and sensors.
And we're seeing them pop up everywhere. In Nigeria, for example, they're using drones for what's called precision agriculture, basically flying over crops to see exactly where you need more water or fertilizer. No more guesswork. And in other places, they're solving really basic infrastructure problems, like delivering blood and vaccines to remote villages you can't even reach by road. It's a total game changer.
But of course, it's not a silver bullet. Nothing ever is, right? There are always pros and cons. The huge strength of drones, they can get to remote places and they're cheap to operate. The weakness, they're totally dependent on good broadband and batteries, which can be a problem. So you have this massive opportunity to supercharge farming and logistics, but you also have the threat of regulations either not existing or being way too strict, which could stop the whole thing in its tracks.
Okay, let's look at another one. Case study number 2, blockchain. Now, when you hear blockchain, you probably think of cryptocurrency, right? But its real potential for development goes way beyond that. It's all about its ability to create a digital record, a ledger that's super secure, transparent, and basically impossible to tamper with.
And here's where it gets really powerful in the real world. In Ghana, they're using it to secure land records. This is a huge deal because it helps farmers prove they own their land so they can get loans. In Uganda, it's being used to track fair trade coffee from the farm right to your cup, making sure the farmers actually get paid fairly. And things called smart contracts are automating payments, which helps cut down on corruption. See? These are super targeted solutions to really big, long-standing problems.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the hype, the hard realities, and these really smart applications, it's pretty clear the entire continent is standing at a crossroads. There isn't just one future waiting to happen. There are real choices to be made, and they lead down very different paths.
In fact, that same African Development Bank report basically lays out 3 possible futures. Path number 1, you stick with the status quo. You kind of miss the boat on the revolution and risk falling even further behind. Path number 2, the big, bold leapfrog strategy. Super high reward, but also super high risk. It would need absolutely massive investment. And then there's path number 3, the most ambitious of all. For some countries to actually become producers of 4IR tech, creating it and exporting it to the world.
And that leaves us with a massive, open question. You have a continent with the world's youngest population. That's an incredible advantage. You have vast, untapped resources. So with all that potential, and with so much on the line, the choices being made right now about how to tackle this revolution, they're going to shape the future for billions. So, which path will it be?